Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen X Existentialists. Welcome in, everyone, to another edition of the Gen X Existentialists podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we are here with you for about the next 20 minutes talking about a whole number of different topics. And we've got a special guest this week. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Hello, name's Corey Simmons, longtime friend, longtime listener of the show.
So see, folks, when we tell you that if you write in, if you talk to us about the show, we may have you on, Corey is a perfect example.
Yes, and I'm terribly nervous, very nervous, sweating bullets right now.
There's absolutely no reason to be nervous.
I'm afraid of messing up, you know.
Well, as Corey has found, on the previous episode, he was in the studio with us, and he had questions for us, like, do you guys prep beforehand? He thought that all the topics, he wasn't a believer. He wasn't an acolyte of Mega Wheel the Magnificent. Will you let the people know the truth of Mega Wheel?
I've been on bended knee watching Mega Wheel the Magnificent do its thing in awe. The only way it would have been better if there were a choir of angels singing Alleluia as it went on. So
proselytize for Mega Wheel the Magnificent.
I was impressed. I was biting my tongue about wanting to jump in about the question about the young love, but I'm with Bunny.
The teen crushes?
I'm with Bunny. Aaron Gray.
Nice.
Aaron Gray, the minute I saw Aaron Gray on Buck Rogers, I didn't know the word heterosexual, but I knew that girls were my thing right then and there. And because Buck Rogers, I think, was supposed to be a sex symbol.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I never saw Buck Rogers. I only saw Aaron Gray.
Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever met Aaron Gray? Because the man sitting to your left has. The man sitting to your left has touched Aaron Gray.
I need to know what part of his body came into contact with Aaron Gray, because I want to touch that part of the body. I'm almost ashamed and frightened to say that I want to touch that part of Bunny's body, but
I just want to say right now, I'm happy I'm on the other side of the studio as this is taking place.
So yes, she was a very impressive lady.
Yes, and still is. She still looks great. Okay, so we're here. We've got a guest with us, and even though we just talked about Mega Wheel the Magnificent, prior to beginning this session, Bunny and I were having a discussion about appliances and electronics. So I want to bring this up. So you're having trouble, Bunny, with your refrigerator. Would you please expand upon that for the audience?
All right. We bought a home, and the previous owners were obviously in a different tax bracket than us. They bought the most expensive, biggest kitchen appliances, and they all match, of course. They're all stainless steel, and they all match, and they're all fancy-pantsy, in this tiny little kitchen. So they have stuffed a $4,000 refrigerator. So there is such a thing. I mean, this is not Nancy Pelosi-style refrigerator.
But it looks amazing.
Yeah, they shoved it into this tiny spot, and it's one of these things where you open it up, and the whole refrigerator glows because it's all lit, and it has digital this, that, and the other, and you can set it for your Jewish Sabbath and all this other crazy stuff. I mean, who needs this on a refrigerator, right?
Everybody.
The refrigerator can send me messages on my phone to let me know.
It's Bluetooth enabled.
Yeah, exactly. And late December, it started sounding like a lawnmower running in our house. And I took some time, defrosted it, took everything out, put a heater inside of it because it's that big. I could fit a portable heater inside of it to unfreeze whatever was happening inside. And I dug around in it, very technically with a butter knife, a few other sharp objects, said a few expletives, and climbed in and dug some ice out. And it was running okay again. And the last week or so, it sounded like a motorboat in the first floor, just running and just sounded horrible. So in typical Bunny fashion, I'm immediately like, that's it. We're done. Fuck this refrigerator. So that's my immediate response to that. So I went ahead and I ordered an $800 refrigerator, which is, I think, is an expensive refrigerator in my estimation. It's not quite a $4,000 refrigerator. It doesn't make ice. It doesn't make
Not
water.
even an ice maker.
No, I don't need an ice maker. I've got ice in the world, baby.
Man.
I don't need it. I don't need extra gewgaws.
So how much square footage are you going to gain in the kitchen by swapping refrigerators?
Not a great amount, but enough that I feel like there's going to be a little bit of an airflow.
Okay.
Right now, there's not
All
really an airflow thing. This is
All
like
right.
welded into the. I have a hard time moving it,
Okay.
and that's with me and my tiny rage shaking at it and stuff. I can barely move it out. But yeah, so we had this discussion about should appliances have all these extra doodads to them? Should they talk to you? Should you be able to control them from your phone at a distance?
The answer to all of this is yes.
Absolutely not.
Oh, but and see, here's the crux of my argument and why I have a hard time believing that that's your take on this, is that at our age, all three of us, we're Gen X. Yes. We have grown up with some of the greatest technological advances that the world has ever seen. We're talking in between shows about our phones. And I mean, you've got a link to the world. You've got a link to all the music that's ever been created on a phone. And things like that, it amazes me that anyone would say, I just wanted to do this one thing, because there's so much more it can do.
Can't we just dig a hole in the backyard and put our eggs down there?
Well, sure, you can. You absolutely can.
No,
but I realize that I've got a different viewpoint, possibly because of medical stuff.
Sure.
Because
and I understand that. You know, an insulin pump should keep you alive. That's its job.
Yeah. I carry my pancreas in my pocket.
Yeah, it's not going to make a frappe for you. It's not going to sing an alarm every time your birthday shows up, I would think.
But it can. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
it can.
You know.
But see, like going back to my first insulin pump in 2001, it basically just had basal rates, you could bolus, and that was it. But for the last few years, I've had a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, where literally right now, if I eat, I have to mess with it. Other than that, the CGM tells it what my blood sugar is, and the pump does the rest. The algorithm
that is a modern miracle of medical science.
Absolutely. So if you can have a refrigerator that talks, why wouldn't you?
Because that just adds to things that can go wrong with a refrigerator. A refrigerator's job is to keep my food at a safe temperature to eat. That's all it's supposed to do. It's not supposed to make ice. It's not supposed to make me water. It's not supposed to send me birthday messages. When I looked into repairing this refrigerator, it was like, well, if it's the engine in the refrigerator, then it's going to cost between $400 and $600. Well, the motor, the motor on it. If it's the condenser, it's going to cost this much. And then, of course, you have to replace the circuitry board that goes with it, which is another $200 something. My refrigerator doesn't need a circuitry board. It needs a light bulb. Or I could live without a light bulb. I could take a flashlight in at night to look in my ice box. That's all it needs to do.
Don't you want it to be better, though? Continuous improvement.
I am holding out for a hot maid droid. That's what I want.
Like Rosie from the Jetsons?
Hotter. Rosie, while she's a lovely, lovely droid, she's not really my type. But I'm still holding out for that hot, sexy female maid robot or whatever.
Okay, so thankfully, this episode, we've got a deciding vote. No pressure, Mr. Simmons, but you've heard our take on things. What do you think?
Are we talking about the refrigerator?
We're talking first about the refrigerator, which is better, and then just as an overarching thing, if the technology can do it, I think it should.
So with the refrigerator, I am I'm with Bunny. Okay. In fact, I think his refrigerator that he wants, his ideal one, is over the top. I like the silver one that I have that doesn't even have a freezer. Because if you need a freezer, you're doing too much planning on your food.
Wow.
I want something cold in there. Open it up, reach in. I should be able to wipe it out with one single paper towel. That's all the bigger that I want.
For those of you that obviously can't see, Bunny is just over there grinning and giving thumbs up and just, you guys are killing me.
Now, with medical improvements, I mean, have at it. But I'm a simpleton. I don't like anything new. That is why I have an iPhone 8. And the iPhone 8 that I have, I walked in with my daughter's old case cover and said, I want a new phone that fits in this. And the kid laughed. He said, sir, we're giving those away for free. I'm like, good, I know how to work that one already. I don't need any surprises in my life.
And yet, between shows, you were talking about how much you love Apple Music because you can access all the music and...
Well, it's simple for a guy like me. I put my finger on it and I talk into it and the song comes up. And that is complexity that I can deal with.
Okay.
And the second iteration of Rosie, by the way, was in Weird Science, by the way, and that I think is the droid.
There you go. Kelly LeBrock. Yeah.
I think that's who you were looking for.
Yeah.
She was quite the intellectual droid.
The thing I will give you is that oftentimes when we have those technological advances, like when Rosie became Kelly, the first iteration of Kelly LeBrock, and we're obviously taking this way out of context, would have been prone to failures, mishaps, because it's kind of a beta test. So that's something that I can completely understand. As you start gaining technology, you have to let it get the bugs worked out. So, for instance, I've been on a CGM with my insulin pump for a few years now. They've been available for a much longer time, but I didn't trust it. And then when I first tried one, nothing but trouble. Put it away. This version I've been on for the last few years, it's like 4th, 5th generation, works like a charm. Typically, whatever my pump says my blood sugar is, I actually test my blood sugar. It's within 10 points. So it's a beautiful thing. So if I were buying the refrigerator, if it's a new version that's got all the bells and whistles and it'll talk to you and tell you when everything's frozen, when your ice is ready to be dumped, yeah, I'm going to lean away. But if it's a few versions in and all the kinks are worked out, yes, gimme.
The reason I looked at this was, okay, number one, they redid this kitchen apparently when they had first moved in, and they only lived there for 2 years. Probably because of the murders. I don't know. I mean, there's some reason.
Have you found bones and stuff in the?
Not yet.
You do have have a murder cellar.
I do have a murder cellar out in the carriage house. Yes, but where the ghost of the old lady that used to drive the carriage lives.
Yeah. No, I don't care whatever you guys do out there. It's always going to be the murder cellar.
Yeah, it's going to be the Evil Dead trapdoor to me. But yeah, so they redid this. So that refrigerator can't be more than 5 years old.
Yeah.
Maximum. And it's already falling apart for $4,000.
Well, that's
you have to change out the water filters, and you have to change out other goofy things in there. There's some other kind of filter that has to be changed in there, and it's always expired. I put one in, and then like 3 months later, it's expired. I'm like, this is a racket, baby.
Well, I mean, filters...
Big General Electric money.
Oh, my God. There is built-in obsolescence, obviously. Because companies have to sell parts. I mean, it's like brand new cars.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Car companies don't make a lot of money on brand new vehicles. They make them on parts and stuff like that later.
Sure.
Forklifts were the same way. Our profit margin on a brand new forklift, next to nothing. That's why we love taking forklifts in on trade, fixing them up, selling them as used, because you're making a ton of dough. Same thing going back to Record Alley. The money we would give you for your used CDs versus selling
poultry.
At least it was a huge profit margin on the used CDs. If you bought a new CD at Record Alley for like $15.99, you know what the profit was? The 99.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that's why we love.
So you're
the used
saying I
market.
should take a sledgehammer to this refrigerator before I have them drag it away, just
I'm
so they
saying-
don't resell it.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is don't let them take it, sell it to somebody and let them know what the problems are. Somebody will buy it from you. You might not make a ton, but you'll make a little bit. You might be able to make enough back to cover your new one.
He's like a modern day Sanford and Son. He knows what he's talking about.
That was one of my favorite shows. as a
My
kid.
red
I loved
fox across the studio here. All right.
Let me tell you something.
Nothing better than that TV show. So we have almost killed this episode.
You got to give it a spin. We
With
got a
this
guest
topic.
here. You got to give him a little taste of the mega
Are we
wheel.
gonna make Corey?
I think
do
we are.
first shot
I'm just
for-
gonna. Do you feel like jumping in the deep end? All right. I'm passing the mic.
Passing the mic to Corey Simmons.
I'm terrified.
We are spinning Mega Wheel of
I'm
Magnificence.
terrified. It usually takes me 2 or 3 hours to come up with something to say. I'm not as sharp as you guys.
Oh. Okay, I'm going to twist this a little bit. The actual question that came up is, what's the most annoying trait I have? So that would be like asking about me. Now, Corey and I go way back. We go back to college at NKU, but we've been Facebook friends. That's been like the extent of it for the last few years. So I'm going to twist it for all of us. What's the most annoying trait you have? Self-reflection, looking in the mirror.
How much time do we have
You
left
just get
of the
to pick
episode?
one. Just get to pick one.
Because my annoying traits are long and many. My ex-wife has got them categorized. God love her. She's spot on all of them, and every subsequent person I've met since then seems to reaffirm those. But I have an intolerance of certain things, which is everything, which is kind of problematic. Like, I hate everything, and when I say I hate everything, and like I like driving a car, but like I hate getting gas. And the other day I thought my civil rights were violated because I had a screw in my tire. And I hated that because I had to deal with that. And I had to go get the DMV to get the little sticker, and I hated that. And I didn't mind the driving part and listening to Apple Music and thinking about the simplicity of my refrigerator. But I hate anything out of the ordinary, anything. Cutting grass, you name it. I mean, it's and I project that from what I'm told from those who around me, that I'm constantly complaining about everything that I hate to do.
But it sounds like you hate the mundane parts of life, the stupid little things that keep it from being completely enjoyable.
You are such a saint that you make me feel so much better about myself.
Well,
you're right. I
say
hate all that stuff.
I say that because I feel like with the stuff you're saying, Bunny's just over there smiling like, yeah, that he's spot on. I feel like I'm looking at the same person.
You
over
remember
here.
the Smurf? What was the Smurf?
Grouchy Smurf?
Grouchy Smurf?
Yeah.
He hated everything.
Yeah.
I like that guy. He was on to something. He was definitely on. I hated Handy Smurf walking around with a hammer. Nobody wants to use a hammer. I don't even want to know. I'm mad that I didn't even know what a hammer is. That I've touched one. I could identify it. I don't want anything to do with tools. I don't feel like on my deathbed I'm not going to go. I wasn't a man because I was no good with tools. I don't want them.
Don't get me started with tools. Literally, you came through the garage to get down to the studio here. You saw some power tools and different things.
I ignored all those.
None of those belong to me. They're all my wife's. You don't want me, literally, she's a whiz with it. You want her to build a set of steps? She can build a set of steps. You want her to build a greenhouse? She built the greenhouse out back. I held stuff for her. I have the same role with her that I had with my dad growing up. Hand me the tool. There you go. No, not that one. This one. Oh, sorry. Okay, there you go. Literally, I play music. I write. I yap a lot. I do safety stuff. Tools? No.
I think Susan B. Anthony is smiling somewhere, thinking about your wife's expertise. Well, good for her, but
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see a tool in my life.
So, Bunny, what's the most annoying trait you have?
My most annoying traits, as Corey said, are many. My long-suffering wife could tell you a few. But I think as I age, and I think I've mentioned this before on a former podcast, it's inertia is one of my worst traits. And inertia creeps into everything. Not to make a reference there, but it creeps into everything. It's the reason that I still drive a 1996 car that's on its last leg all the time.
Is that the reason?
Yeah, it's because the idea of spending the type of money that you have to spend on a car, I haven't had a car payment in over 20 years, and I like it like that. I mean, that car got paid off super fast. It was used to begin with.
Yeah.
It was never new. And that's fine. But it's one of those things, the idea of spending that much money and then still having to do car maintenance, paying higher insurance, paying more for my registration. My registration this year was $26
Nice.
for my registration. My wife's was like $190 something. So, and her car is old now too, apparently. It's like a 2013 or something. So, it's things like that. The inertia is, I should really get out there and write that D&D module that I've been talking about doing.
Yeah.
And I don't do it because there's a million people out there writing stuff, and they're better than me, and they're sharper than me, and they're younger than me, and what's the point? I'm going to be dead in 5 years anyway, kind of a thing. It's that
absurd.
I fall back on that excuse a lot because I'm in that window. Yeah. I'm in that window where people are starting to just like drop dead. We've had it happen in our friend circle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just never know. One day you wake up, oh, there's a lump. Oh, I'm dead. The next day. It's the way it works anymore. So it's kind of like, okay, now it's getting a little more realistic, that idea of, oh, shit, do I really want to spend my last few days fighting? Like, Corey said, like, with tools.
Yeah.
I want to build a chicken coop. This is one of my things. I want to have chickens. I'm in an area now where I could have 1 billion chickens if I wanted. I only want like 5.
You can probably walk out your door and catch a few chickens.
I
and
probably
just put them in a
could,
coop.
yeah. But it's one of those things where I'm not good with tools either. And I can fight my way through it loudly. And I can get stuff done. But do I really want to spend that time? Like, what is my wife going to do when I'm gone and there's a pile of just junk sitting around in the garage? What's she going to do with all that? That's not a way to leave somebody. So that's the kind of inertia thing. How about you? We got to throw this back on you.
In sticking with my answers to questions like this through the course of the show, I have no annoying traits. I am absolutely perfect.
Here we go.
No, I would say that mine, probably I assume too much still today. I don't in my job because I know I can't, but oftentimes I will assume that other people are on the same wavelength as me, and they're not, and it always causes problems. So it's probably, oddly enough, a communication thing. I feel like I don't communicate well. Even though other people would probably say, no, dude, you don't have to message me 15 times with what the plan is for the weekend. I've got it. Mm-hmm. But it's because of that. And that turns into an annoying trait in and of itself.
I have a question for you about that, because we had a discussion about this just last night, me and my wife. Mm-hmm. How much of that is naivety as well? Because with me, she's always like, you buy into things too quickly.
Yes.
You see things on social media and you're like, oh, they got a better life than me. They're better. Oh, no. They're a better guy than me. They're making more money than me. That's one of my failings, I guess, is that I'll look online and I'm like, man, I am 50, whatever, 51. I should be a heck of a lot. I should be doing a lot more than I am.
I feel that way with music because I know a lot of people that are musicians. I know a lot of people that are in even newer bands that are out there playing. They've already put, EPs and albums out. And, I'm in a band right now. One of the members is in a separate project. So it's kind of weird. And literally post-college, finding musicians that were willing to commit the time, especially to an original band. Cover bands, because you just learn the music, you go out and play. Writing original music is a way different thing. Finding people willing to commit the time to it, to do it, has been a struggle for decades for me. And so I feel like I'm not where I should be with that, but I gave up the idea of, I want to be a rock star in 1997. Right now, I just want to write and record good stuff. I want to write stuff that I'm proud of. I don't care if 10 people hear it, because we've talked about this on the show before too. I've got 5 collections of poetry, stuff like that. It's great. I've sold a few copies. Thank God I broke even on them. But sometimes just the one person at a poetry reading that comes up to you and says, hey, I really dug that one thing you read. That's enough. If you can touch one person with something you create. Corey, you've written books. You've Meat Cleaver Theater and all the other different stuff that you've created, Bunny. We've all created things and people have read it, heard it, seen it. So we've already, the 3 of us in this room, done a lot more than a lot of people ever dream of. So I try and remind myself of that and kind of keep it in the back of my mind when I start going, I'm a piece of shit. I haven't done anything in weeks.
Yeah.
So
I have a dragon's hoard tendency as well.
Yeah.
Like big time. And some would say, what do you mean, you're greedy? No, I'm not really greedy. I'm just very covetous, I guess, because we talked about this where, she's like, well, you're just like an old dragon sitting on your hoard, what are you going to do with more money?
Yeah.
And you're fine. And we're fine.
Yeah, that's the conversation about your car.
Yeah. And it's like, well, what are you going to do, with all that money? And I'm always like, well, something might come up, you might find that lump. I might fall down the stairs and break my hip, and need to, rearrange my whole life or whatever. I might wreck that old car of mine and have to buy one on the spot. Da, da, da. And she's like, yeah, but what if you don't? Like, what are you going to do with all that? What's that money doing for you? What's that stuff doing for you?
Exactly.
It's just sitting there.
Yep.
I'm like, rainy day. I got a rainy day problem.
Someday never comes, man.
I know. You got anything left to add to that, sir?
I love Scott's positivity on everything about, that we should take measure of our lives and think to ourselves in our, 50s that what we've done is pretty good. But I don't really have that problem because I really don't want to do anything. I just want to watch reruns, take a walk, ride my bike. I think my only regret is I don't know how to play a guitar. I would love to know how to play an acoustic guitar.
You can borrow one if you want.
And, I'd like to be able to do a few Pink Floyd riffs, and maybe...
No, I'm serious. I've got one on the other side of the wall there in a case. You can take it with you.
I don't know that I'm coordinated enough to, to play anything.
I didn't think I was when I started either.
Oh, I might take you up on that offer, So... Yeah, his positivity is infectious.
Yes.
Look at all these doubtful men. What's up with this? What an emasculating podcast this has become.
And this is the longest episode of the Gen X Existentialists that we've done, too. But I think this has been good. I mean, conversation's been awesome. So we're going to wrap it up. For anybody who wants to get in touch with us, Bunny, can you give them the
Go ahead
deets?
Go ahead and drop us a line at the Mixcloud page which you found this podcast, or you can drop us a line at morningpizzaradio@proton.me.
It's proton.me.
And I will sign off. I'm Bunny.
And I'm Corey.
And I'm Scott. This has been the Gen X Existentialists. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.